All right, today we're going to dive into the really fascinating and yet often controversial world of investment migration. This is a place where your passport and your residency aren't just about where you were born, but about where you can invest your money.
So let's just kick things off with a pretty wild question. What if you could just buy a new passport? I mean, for a growing number of really wealthy individuals, this isn't some hypothetical. Nope. It's a strategic financial move that can unlock global travel, huge tax advantages, and, a secure plan B.
So in this explainer, we're going to break it all down. We'll start with what these golden visas actually are, then we'll compare some of the top programs out there, dissect a real-world $5 million investment, uncover a pretty clever tax strategy, and wrap it all up with some really important caveats and takeaways.
Okay, so first up, what exactly is this golden ticket? Let's get to the bottom of what residency by investment really means.
A golden visa is, well, it's basically a deal. A country says, hey, if you make a pretty significant investment in our economy, we'll give you residency, and maybe even a clear path to becoming a citizen. That investment could be in real estate, government bonds, you name it.
But why do it? What's the real motivation here? Well, for a lot of people, it's about getting visa-free travel to huge regions, like all of Europe's Schengen area. For others, it's about finding a much friendlier tax situation, spreading their assets around the globe, or just locking in a stable plan B for their family in what feels like a pretty uncertain world.
Okay, so now that we get the what and the why, let's actually compare some of these top-tier programs and see how they stack up against each other.
And wow, the price of entry is all over the map. You've got the UAE, which offers a real estate option for just over $500,000. But then you look at a place like Singapore or New Zealand, and that minimum buy-in skyrockets to nearly $2 and then $3 million. The price tag really tells you a lot about the country's prestige and the perks you get.
This table really shows you the trade-offs, doesn't it? The UAE is relatively affordable and has zero tax on foreign income, but there's no path to citizenship. The USA's EB-5 program gets you a passport in 5 years, but then you're on the hook for global taxation. And then you have Singapore, way more expensive, but you could be eligible for citizenship in just 2 years with a territorial tax system. Meanwhile, Italy makes you wait a full decade.
And it's not just about money, it's about time. You can get residency in the UAE in just a couple of months. But if a new passport is the end goal, well, that wait varies a ton. Singapore is super fast at just 2 years. Italy, on the other hand, requires a 10-year commitment. So an investor's choice really boils down to what they want most: speed, a low price tag, or tax efficiency.
Okay, these comparisons are great for the big picture, but what does one of these investments actually look like on the ground? To really get the mechanics, we're going to zoom way in on a specific real-world case study, a $5 million investment right here in the United States.
So our case study is all about a special investment vehicle called a real estate limited partnership, or RLP. In this scenario, an investor is buying a $5 million piece of a bigger portfolio of debt-free properties, and, this is important, it's all structured through a company based in Wyoming. The process itself is very methodical. It kicks off with screening and checking out all the risks. Then, the investor creates a special Wyoming LLC to hold the investment. Now, this is a crucial step, and we're going to come back to it. After all the due diligence is done, the $5 million gets wired over. And finally, the investment goes live, and the investor starts getting income and other benefits. And the income we're talking about is pretty significant. This $5 million investment is built to spin off around $450,000 in passive income every single year. That works out to a 9 to 10% annual yield. So it's a really powerful investment on its own, totally separate from any visa stuff. And that brings us to the real strategic genius of this whole setup, the Wyoming tax shield. See, it's not just about the asset you're buying, it's all about how you buy it.
So, why a Wyoming LLC? Why is that the secret sauce here? Well, because if you're a foreign investor and you hold a U.S. asset directly, you can run into a ton of tax headaches. This LLC basically acts as a protective layer, and it unlocks a whole suite of amazing advantages. I mean, the difference is just night and day. If you own the asset directly as a foreigner, you're facing a hefty 15% withholding tax if you ever sell. That's money the government takes before you even see a dime. Plus, your entire estate is exposed to U.S. taxes. But by funneling that same investment through a Wyoming LLC, you can slash that withholding, totally eliminate U.S. estate taxes for your heirs, and get a whole lot more privacy.
It's a total game changer.
So what are the big wins here? First, the structure helps you avoid getting taxed twice. It also lets the investment pass to your heirs seamlessly, with no lengthy court process and, critically, without triggering capital gains or estate taxes. On top of that, it unlocks some really powerful tax deductions. For instance, something called 100% bonus depreciation could let the investor deduct a huge chunk of the cost right away. On a $5 million investment, that could mean a tax saving of almost $2 million, right up front.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. But before we wrap this up, it is time for a very, very important reality check. Let's talk about the visas, the fine print, and the things you absolutely need to take away from this.
Now, this is critical, so listen closely. The source material is crystal clear on this point. I'm quoting directly here. This specific RELP structure is not a visa program itself. It only offers EB-5-like options if expanded. The keywords there, of course, are if expanded.
So let's be absolutely clear on the takeaway here. What we've just analyzed is a sophisticated, high-yield investment designed for foreign nationals that happens to offer some incredible tax advantages. It has the potential to one day line up with a visa program, but right now, as of today, it is not a direct ticket to a green card.
And all of this leaves us with a final, much bigger question. As more and more capital flows across borders, you have to ask, is a passport a fundamental birthright? Or is it slowly becoming just another asset class, a commodity that can be bought and sold by those who can afford it? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us.